Yes. All right, good evening. It is 6:30 and welcome to the work session of the McMinnville City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order and I'm going to call on Jeff Towery, our city manager, to introduce the topic this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. We wanted to give you a progress report on dollars and cents. We launched the engagement on July 18th with the prioritization tool. The kickoff included a short video from the mayor that explained the projects in a variety of different city settings. So far, this video has been viewed almost 3,200 times, which we think is a great number. To date, we have attended a number of in-person events, concert in the park on July 18th, Wednesday at Wortman on July 26th, the August 1st National Night Out, a movie in the park on the 11th of August, Farmers Market on the 17th of August, and we'll be at the Farmers Market again this week. When we attend those events, we use small flyer handouts that are in both English and Spanish, and we have tables equipped with iPads that have the prioritization tool, and we have those tables staffed, and we have bilingual capabilities at those events. We've had over 500 submissions for the prioritization tool at this point. We launched the simulation tool, which, as you know, is a more robust tool that includes budget data and questions about levy capacity. That was launched again in both English and in Spanish. It's available on our project page at iHeartMac. I don't have a response rate on that yet, but when folks visit that site, they're spending about 6.5 minutes on the site, which we think is probably enough time to get through and at least partially complete it, but we'll be looking at the data later on. We're in the process of recruiting people to serve on one of two focus groups that are scheduled in September on the 11th and the 18th. Praxis will be facilitating both of those groups. They'll use a version of the simulation tool, and it's specifically designed to really enhance a lot of conversation and feedback amongst the focus groups. We've got an ideas fair that's scheduled for September 22nd, or 27th rather. There'll be a number of ways to interact. There'll be a photo booth, a pretty simple, straightforward voting exercise. We'll do project background, budget basics. Noelle is thinking about doing a city councilor corner, and so she hasn't connected with you yet, but if you're interested in that, she'll be reaching out to you. And we're also talking about a creative art collaboration mural as part of the event. Invitations for the open house style event will go out through our usual channels. We'll be doing a postcard mailer, printing flyers, and direct email with our partner organizations as well. Noelle is really leading the community engagement piece of this. She's been supported by executive team members, of course, and budget team members. Grace from the library has been a key player in this event, as well as Daniel from the police department. And they're working on essentially wallpapering the city with program flyers. And they have been among the folks that have been staffing tables as well, although we've had other folks who have been staffing the tables. We also have iPad stations for in-person support at the library and the aquatic center. For a while we had one at the senior center, but we decided we'd get maybe more traffic at the aquatic center. We're about halfway through the process. We think most of the meaningful engagement will come over the last few weeks. Noelle is trying to think about some ways to get one or two more community conversations into the process as well, and she's looking at options and particularly making sure that folks are comfortable participating in something, and that can be as challenging for folks who aren't used to public budgeting or government exercises. We're just trying to make it as accessible as possible. So we wanted to provide that update. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't think Noelle is on Zoom. She was not likely to show up. Councilor Minke, yes.
You said you had focus groups the 11th and 18th of September?
11th and the 18th.
Any other questions?
I could take that. Thanks for. When's it scheduled to close?
We don't have a hard close on it, especially if we can get a couple of more community engagement conversations done in September. We'd like to wrap pretty close to the end of September so that we can analyze the data and bring it to you in a work session in October.
Oh, okay, so that was, sort of next question was, what's the anticipated wrap-up data turn to present mode turnaround? So
I don't know,
maybe
I don't know,
two,
Claudia,
3
do we
weeks.
have a date held for that yet?
Yes, it is scheduled for October 24th as a work session.
Cool. Pretty good.
You say we have 500 completed forms so far?
There were 500 engagements on the prioritization tool. I don't have the count on how many folks have submitted the simulation at this point.
Pretty good.
Additional questions? Counselor Chenoweth?
I don't really have a question, just a comment. I'm a little concerned about how that output is going to be. I appreciated in the budget options, we had the option to choose. We didn't want to have an increase in spending whatsoever. But in the prioritization section, there is no such option. And so I feel like that the response that we're getting from the community is being funneled into a spending is the only priority you get option. And so I'm a little worried how that's going to impact the actual results in terms of not giving us a clear understanding what the entire community thinks.
Sure, understand. And I guess one point that I would make is we didn't include budget implications with the prioritization tool. We simply described the kinds of services that we're supporting, and we really just asked people to prioritize what they think the top services are. We didn't ask them whether we should spend levy money on those or not. It's really an effort to try to see what people's priorities are kind of outside the context of the available levy, and that's useful information for us whether or not we're exercising levy capacity.
I agree with you on that point, but since this is specifically geared around the spending the $1.50, the outcome is likely going to be framed in a this is what they want us to spend it on framing. And if the priority of the person hitting the priority buttons is fiscal constraint, they don't have that option. And so what you're going to get is a feedback out of that priorities that is only spending, because that's the only option. That in the context of what we're doing this, seems like we're not really going to get the true feedback of our constituents. And I do have a meeting scheduled tomorrow to talk a little bit with her about this, but I want to voice get this on the record that I'm concerned because it's not really going to give us a clear picture of what the entire city feels should be our spending priorities, and that's concerning to me.
Any additional comments or questions? Counselor Peralta?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm on the tool, and I just find it a little confusing to use on the phone. I see it's very easy to add questions as a member of the public, but even getting to and also easy to join the focus group, but actually taking the survey, I don't find that easy. And I had complaints from a couple of different people, honestly, that when they did take the survey, some of the broad categories rely on drop-down menus that create more specificity. But if you don't drop down the menu, then it's like, yeah, sure, I support public safety. Let's add a few police. But the options are not that. They're disaster relief and things of that nature. And I wonder how effective it's going to be in terms of the granularity of information that we're going to get back.
Well, I think that's a legitimate concern. I think the folks who try to do it on the phone, it's going to be challenging. It's a little easier to read on iPads or laptops if folks are using that, and we also will, in some of our community engagement, will have some other tools available for folks to use who aren't comfortable using the technology. That's one of the reasons we're using a variety of approaches to try to get the feedback and the data, because just a singular approach might not be accessible enough and might not give us really robust and complete data. So having a variety of ways to get to the tool and a variety of ways to use it, we'll have all of the data and we'll be able to hopefully have some more meaningful feedback.
Sure. Well, I mean, in terms of feedback to the consultant, I just feel like that's a bit of a miss because a lot of people just don't have something other than a phone at home or a device. And it's not like that's a new technology to put a form to make it available on those types of platforms. So that's just one criticism. Beyond that, I really appreciate all the outreach, all the work that's going into getting the community engaged, because I do hear the conversation happening in the community. So to the staff's credit, it's been a well-run project from the standpoint of making sure people have an opportunity. But the tools and the consulting firm, whoever put that part of it together, I do have that one note. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gary.
Do we have a more detailed snapshot on the demographic data at the moment?
I don't have any of the detailed data at this point, either in terms of responses or the demographics, but we'll have all of that at the end of the process.
At the end, we don't have an opportunity to look at it now and say, oh man, we are short on
We'll actually do that
seniors
before
from
we,
the west side. Let's go out there and start banging on doors.
right. We'll actually do that before we start to shut parts of the process down. We'll
Okay.
take a look at the in-progress data, and if it looks like we're missing a demographic or missing a part of town, we'll look at a strategy to try to tackle that.
Okay. And then, yeah, I guess to your point, Chris, I've looked at this as just general data to help push us forward in general directions to prop up programming, no matter what. I hadn't thought of this as a tool to put the foot on the pedal. I still think there's a big question to be had around that levying authority, and it's not, oh, look, 500 people pressed parks, better put all that money into parks tomorrow. So I think this group is well-versed to have that conversation when we get there, and this helps inform that from the community perspective. In my mind, I hadn't looked at it as a way, but that's an interesting idea. Thanks.
I appreciate your comments, and I'm hopeful that that's the case at the end game. That's, I want to echo Sal. I think the amount of engagement has been impressive, so thank you for that.
Great, thank you. Any additional comments? Okay, not hearing any. We will adjourn the work session at 6:42, and we'll take a break, and we will start right on time. The council meeting noticed at 7 p.m.
Recording stopped.
In just a minute, we do have this meeting noticed for 7 p.m., so we just need to wait for the clock to strike 7 to make sure that anybody that was planning on joining is able to hear the whole meeting. Tonight. We do have public comment sign-up forms over here, and if you fill those out in advance, it'll aid in the entire process. It'll go faster. So please feel free to fill those out, and you can give them to our city recorder, Claudia Cisneros, and then we will call on you. Public comments, one of the first things up on the agenda. And seeing that the clock has struck 7, I would like to go ahead and call the August 22nd, 2023 meeting of the McMinnville City Council to order. And I would ask our city recorder, Claudia Cisneros, to do roll call.
Councilor Geary,
Good evening.
Councilor Menke,
Here.
Councilor Chenoweth,
Here.
Councilor Payne,
Present.
Councilor Peralta, Council President Urban is absent this evening, and Mayor Drapkin.
Here. Thank you. And I have asked Councilor Menke to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody that's in attendance this evening. We now go to the section of our agenda where we take comments from community members. Any interested audience members are invited to provide comments, and any comment provided that requires some type of follow-up will be assigned to a staff member. Anyone may speak on any topic other than a matter in litigation, a quasi-judicial land use matter, or a matter scheduled for public hearing today or at some future date. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person and for a total of 30 minutes. If you are on Zoom and you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand feature, and when your turn is up, we'll announce your name and unmute your mic, or you may send a chat directly to our city recorder and we will announce you. So we'll start with folks in the audience this evening. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
No one has currently signed up.
Okay, is there anybody here that would like to make public comment this evening? All right, thank you. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make public comment this evening? And is there anyone on the phone?
There's no one on the phone.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm going to go to our, I'm going to, if it's all right with the council, I'm going to go to our consent agenda and come back to advice and information. And we do have I have received a request from a councilor to remove resolution number 2023-54. That's a resolution appointing Rachel Flores to the McMinnville Planning Commission. So what I'd like to do is for the council to consider that resolution first, Jeff, as our city manager, do you want to touch upon, give a brief staff report on the appointment?
Yes, Mayor, hold on one second. Let me find the agenda item. Do you have the page number in the packet, Claudia?
Or are you looking for application?
58, basically.
For applications, page 58.
Thank you. As with our other boards and committees, the city solicits advertisements by advertising vacancies in the News Register through social media, other communications opportunity. In May of 2023, the planning commissioner from Ward 1 resigned. The term of their position extends to December 31st, 2024. Mayor and Council President are recommending that Rachel Flores be appointed to the position.
Right. Thank you. And are there questions or comments from councilors? Councilor Chenoweth.
So yeah, first I want to say I was the one who asked that this get pulled off of the agenda, or off the consent agenda for a couple of reasons. But the most important one is I think when we have somebody who volunteers and gets put on one of our committees, we should bring them out separately and call them out. So that was my number one reason for wanting to pull this out of the consent agenda. Secondary, I just have some quick questions. Who does the interviews for the Planning Commission positions?
The chair, the leads, the chair, with all of our committees, it is typically the chair of that committee, the staffer for that committee, and then mayor and/or council president. For Planning Commission, it was mayor, council president, lead staff, and committee chair.
And just out of curiosity, how many applicants did we have?
2.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Menke.
I was not part of the decision, but I just want to speak for Rachel Flores. She's an active member on the Affordable Housing Committee and contributes a great deal, and I think she's a lovely candidate.
Wonderful. unless there's any other discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2023-54 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion from Counselor Geary and a second from Counselor Menke. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously. And as I do whenever we have new appointments, I like to welcome, if you'd like to join us, Rachel, and come and tell the council a little bit about yourself and tell the community a little bit about yourself, we would love to have you join us for a moment.
Good evening. I'm Rachel Flores, resident of Ward 1 in McMinnville, and I serve as the Development Director for Henderson House, our county's local domestic violence and sexual assault shelter and advocacy center. And I have been working with Councilor Menke and Mayor Drapkin on our Affordable Housing Committee work, and am thrilled to receive this appointment to help with however I can with the Planning Commission work. And thank you for your confidence.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you for your service to the city of McMinnville. We'll now consider the remainder of the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from Counselor Geary. Oh,
Second.
and a second from Counselor Menke. Was there activity down there that I didn't hear? No?
No, we're just.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say nay. And the consent agenda is adopted unanimously. We'll now go to advice and information items. We'll start with counselors on committee and board assignments. Start to my left this evening. Counselor Geary.
Nothing major to report. DEIAC had no meeting, and MURAC is between meetings since my last update. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Chenoweth.
So Parkway met, but I'm going to defer to my esteemed fellow counselor to give that report. EVLC also met. We solidified what our priorities are going to be for the next year. We're going to stay on the 3rd Street Improvement Project and the Innovation Campus as priorities we're going to continue to track and try to keep moving along. We're also going to be adding workforce housing, and we'd like to study ways to increase the availability of workforce housing in McMinnville. So we're going to try to take the players we have at the table to see if we can come up with creative solutions. We're going to look at potentially finding ways to streamline the permitting process here at McMinnville. And we're also going to do some work on identifying available land. And what we mean by that is under the goal of maintain and enhance McMinnville positive business climate, we would like to identify available shovel-ready land for development and prepare a marketing pro forma on the land, on the need for, rather, and success of speculative industrial development space in McMinnville. So those are the 5 areas we're going to be focusing on this year.
Thank you so much. Counselor Peralta.
Council of Governments hasn't met. We meet in early September, and Historic Landmarks meets later this week.
Thank you. Counselor Payne.
Thank you. Landscape Review met last week, approved 2 street tree removals, and is getting into refining the code and what projects are going to be going before landscape review or passing through staff. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Counselor Menke.
A few tonight. Parkway, we met last Thursday, and we talked about Phase 2A, which is the big one right now. It's the cloverleaf on 219. The bid has been delayed, hopefully by February 24th, but in the meantime, they're prepping for construction, working on utilities, right-of-way, fences, and tree clearing. The project labor agreement has been the cause of the delay and is set to, has been sent to the union and the FHWA and needs to come back and be recertified. Phase 2B, 219 to Rex Hill, 2-lane, this is not funded for construction, but design savings from Phase 1 will go into the purchase for property around, I think it seemed like it was about $13 million that was a carryover from the original Phase 1. they're trying to they're trying to get this money transferred, so that's what's in process there. And that's kind of the big stuff. They were talking again about Highway 99, the bypass related, the safety corridor stuff on McDougal, the 3 intersections. There's $4 million that's been allocated to that, funded out of an earmark. And that's basically to improve the intersections, turn lanes, potentially a roundabout might be in the offing. They're looking for another earmark for $4 million. That would mostly go to design, and then they would have to find some additional additional monies to actually create the roundabout. And there's opportunities with this coming session for the legislature, September 27th, 28th, and 29th, and then November 6th, 7th, and 8th. And what they're doing is trying to put together a committee headed by Senator Starr to go and talk to the legislature about various parts of the bypass. And I'll let you follow up on that.
Well, and one thing, backing up a hair, there was also talk about the intersection of Highway 18 and Lafayette Highway.
Oh, yeah.
That they are in design for fixing that intersection. And again, that one's looking like we're likely going to end up with a roundabout in that area, although that's not for sure at this point. I have said I'm very willing to be involved in helping with this committee that we're going to undertake to try to help get funding directed from the state legislature to the bypass project.
Also on YCAP, September 7th, the executive board is meeting, and we're interviewing 2 possible candidates for put on the board as at-large candidates. The YCAP board is a tripartite board. There's 3 members that are elected. There's 3 members that are either low-income or represent low-income parties, and then there's 3 that are at-large. So this is for one of the at-large positions. Fox Ridge is August 30th at 6:30, and it'll be a 2-hour meeting, and it's basically a packed debrief. And let's see, affordable housing is this coming Wednesday, and we're talking about bonuses for builders.
Great, thank you so much. For my office this week, we were able to convene a roundtable discussion really focused on childcare and early childhood learning. So we have a complete deficit of childcare desert in Yamhill County. So we were able to convene childcare resources, Head Start Yamhill County, Campfire McMinnville, Yamhill YCCO, the McMinnville School District, Health and Human Services, and then bring in Children's Institute, which is a statewide organization that last year received $50 million from the legislature to invest in additional childcare facilities. So we were really talking about long-term solutions, but as often happens when you get people around a table together, just having an open conversation, sometimes you find some short-term solutions as well. And so we actually, through the course of that conversation and some follow-up, identified 45 additional openings for spots, for scholarship spots into the Campfire program. And so Campfire and School District are working now to get those seats filled. In that same vein, today I hosted a number of mayors from surrounding communities as we're looking at putting together a regional legislative concept that we could take, that our representatives, Elmer, could support and take to the legislature this year for an ask, and that it would be very focused on housing, but more of a regional approach to housing solutions as opposed to just McMinnville-centric approach. Similarly, tomorrow evening, Representative Elmer will be holding a town hall, and so I'm sure she would want that invitation extended to everybody in the room, so I'll extend it on her behalf. Today, I also was able to host Congresswoman Salinas to do a downtown small business tour. We met with 4 different downtown businesses and talked about challenges and opportunities, and also gave me the opportunity to thank her for potentially the $850,000 that we'll be getting from the federal government to help make the repairs on 3rd Street for the 3rd Street Improvement Project. That's not all the way out of, that's out of subcommittee, but still needs one more step of approval, and then the federal government has to fund themselves, and then that will come this way. And then still in that vein of hosting kind of roundtables and trying to work with state agencies to invest in our city and our community, later next week, we'll be hosting a roundtable with Director Bell, who's the Executive Director of Oregon Housing and Community Services. We'll be doing a site visit to the Navigation Center that is under construction, which benefited from Oregon Housing and Community Services funds, and then we'll be going out to Stratus Village, which is not yet under construction, but we'll still go visit the field because Oregon Housing and Community Services also contributed there. That will be the 179 affordable housing unit development that will be going in there. The Navigation Center is our intensive response with wraparound services for folks experiencing homelessness. And I'll go to department head reports, starting with our city manager, Jeff Towery.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a reminder for some, or maybe new for the rest of you, I will be out of town August 26th through September 2nd. I'll be not checking email. If you do need to reach me, the best way to do it is to send a text using WhatsApp. If you don't know what WhatsApp is, talk to a friend or family member who's under 22 years old.
Thank you, Director Pagano. Public Works Director, I should say.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Our city recorder, Claudia Cisneros.
Yes. I wanted to state for the record, council and mayor received a letter from Margaret Cross regarding the dollars and cents. I'm entering it into the record today, and it'll be posted on the amended packet tomorrow. As a reminder, the joint meeting with the McMinnville School Board that was scheduled for August 28th on Monday is rescheduled. We don't have a future date at this time, but once Superintendent Brockett gives us a new date, I will let council know immediately. And then we have the Zoom-only meeting with Mac Water and Light on August 29th.
And that is we're aiming for a 15-minute meeting. It is just to approve what we have all already agreed to, but to get it solidified. I can't think of the word I want right now, but to lock it in there. And on to Zoom, I'll go to our finance director, Jennifer Cuellar.
Hello. Yeah, nothing to report this evening. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have a very light, this is more people than are generally in the room and one of the shortest meetings we're ever going to have. So I will now adjourn the council meeting at 7:19 p.m. We will go into our urban renewal agency meeting, and I would like to call the McMinnville Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order at 7:19 p.m. on August 22nd, 2023. And we are going to consider resolution number 2023-03, a resolution adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, making appropriations and declaring the tax increment.
It's actually a resolution of the McMinnville Urban Renewal Board approving the public improvement contract for the First Presbyterian Church parking lot paving.
Oh, I see.
Project 2023-9. Sorry about that, Mayor. I put it wrong on your script.
I get it. I understand what you were telling me now. Great. Yes. Thank you. And so I would just first call on Ann Pagano, our Public Works Director, to present.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The resolution is for approval of a public improvement contract and additional funding for improvements to the First Presbyterian Church parking lot. The city is leasing the parking lot at the church so that it can be used for public parking. As part of the lease agreement, the city agreed to pave the south half of the parking lot. And the URA has $64,000 budgeted for this project this fiscal year. The bid for the improvements came in at $86,059.50. So an additional amount of $22,059.50 is needed to complete the project. We are requesting the Urban Renewal Agency approve the use of these additional funds from the URA budget and authorize the city manager to execute the contract with H&H Paving in the amount of $86,059.50.
Thank you. Council discussion. Councilor Payne, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you. Once the higher number came back, was there a new bid process that went out?
That's not our typical procurement process. We asked for 3 bids and we received 1. So that's usually how we would do it, is we would not go back out for bids.
Let me add that our technical staff did meet with the engineer, or with the firm, to see if there was any changes they could make to the bid or do any value engineering. I think Jeff Gooden may be on the line, and he could maybe talk a little bit more about that process if the council would like.
Jeff is on the line, and I can say that when the estimate was done, I'm not sure, a few months ago, for the $64,000, it was before design was actually prepared. And through the design process, it was determined that we needed to do more excavation, which is the main additional cost for this. So it just, wasn't completely designed, and that's part of the reason for the additional cost.
Okay, I think Councilor Chenoweth would like a little clarity. Do you want to?
Did you say there was only 1 bid that came in the first place?
Only 1 bid, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And do we want to go to? Yep, please, Mr.
Sorry, I'd just like to add, we actually solicited 4 bids, and only 1 bid came back, so.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you. And Councilor Geary?
If approved, what's the expected install date for paving?
So talking to the contractor, sounds like they can get in September 11th, and then he's given himself about 2 to 3 weeks to complete the work. That's with the farmers market and communication with the farmers market not working, and making sure that those streets are clear for those days. If there was too much interference with the farmers market, he was agreeable to moving it past October 12th in order to limit impact. Farmers market has expressed that they are okay with the work being done in September.
And forgive me if these are questions I could find the answers to in my packet, but I don't have my packet in front of me tonight, or a computer. Does that number include striping, wheel stops, signage, and any drainage-related needs to the site as well?
That is all inclusive, yes. Okay. All of those items are included.
And remind me again the square footage, roughly?
I'd have to look at my bid sheet here. I want to say it was 6,100, roughly.
6,120 square feet.
Yeah, thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Additional questions or conversation? No? Not hearing any, I would ask for a motion to approve resolution number 2023-03.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Menke and a second from Councilor Chenoweth. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. And the resolution has passed unanimously. And I will now adjourn the Urban Renewal Agency meeting at 7:25 p.m.
Thank you.
Wow.